Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. And in today's video, we're going to cover 6 incredibly simple conversation starters. Basically, how to talk to women 101. I've already made plenty of videos about questions to ask on a first date and ways to keep a conversation going, but today we're focusing on something even more important: how to actually start the conversation. I'll be sharing 6 of the easiest conversation starters that work in all kinds of situations. No matter where you are, chances are at least one of these will fit. Take whatever works for you and leave the rest. The first one is asking for her recommendation. This is one of the simplest ways to break the ice because people generally enjoy sharing their opinions. You could say something like, "What's your favorite place to eat around here?" Or, "It's my first time here. Would you recommend the breakfast burrito or the egg sandwich?" Maybe you're new to the area and ask, "What are your favorite food spots around here?" I realize all my examples involve food. I guess I'm a little hungry while filming this. But regardless of the setting, there's almost always something you can ask her for her opinion on. Whether it's something on the menu, a local coffee shop, or a place worth visiting, asking for a recommendation feels natural. That's exactly why I like this tip so much, and it leads perfectly into the next one. The second conversation starter is making a situational comment. In simple terms, that's making a comment about something you're both experiencing at that moment. This is actually something I use all the time in my workout classes. Nothing brings people together quite like struggling through the same workout. Shared experiences naturally create opportunities to connect. Maybe you're both in college taking the same class. You could comment on the assignment or mention something that happened during the lecture. The great thing about this tip is that it can be applied almost anywhere. I didn't want to overload this video with examples because every situation is different. I also don't want you copying my exact words. I want your conversations to feel genuine and natural instead of rehearsed. But if you're unsure about a specific situation, let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to help. The next tip tends to work really well, and that's giving a unique compliment. And guys, keep it respectful. There's nothing more uncomfortable than someone making things sexual immediately, especially in person. It just comes across as awkward. Most people enjoy receiving compliments. I don't think that's just true for women, I think men appreciate them too. A sincere compliment can genuinely brighten someone's day. You don't need to go overboard. One thoughtful compliment is more than enough. There's no reason to throw 10 compliments at her all at once. It should also be genuine. If you're approaching someone, there must be something that caught your attention. The other day, I went through the Chick-fil-A drive-thru and the girl at the window smiled and said, "Oh my gosh, you're so pretty." It completely made my day. It was such a simple compliment, but it had a huge impact. That being said, compliments from women can sometimes feel different than compliments from men. Because of that, I actually think it's often better if your compliment isn't only about her appearance. Sure, saying she's beautiful or gorgeous works for many women, but giving a compliment that's a little more unique often stands out much more. Maybe you notice her style, her energy, or something she's chosen to wear. Chances are she doesn't hear those compliments nearly as often. Use your creativity here, but most importantly, make sure it's authentic. The next conversation starter is incredibly simple. Just introduce yourself. Sometimes we make approaching someone way more complicated than it needs to be. If you're at a networking event, you could simply say, "Hey, I don't think we've met before. I'm Courtney." Or maybe you're at a cafe and say, "I'm here pretty often, but I don't think I've seen you before. I'm Courtney." That's honestly all it takes. I know this works because I actually experienced it myself. A few years ago, an older gentleman introduced himself to me at a coffee shop. I had just moved to the area while he was a regular there. He simply said, "Hey, I haven't seen you here before. I'm here all the time. My name is..." I honestly can't remember his name because it happened years ago, but it led to a really nice conversation that lasted around 20 minutes. It was just a pleasant interaction with someone from the neighborhood, and it all started with a simple introduction. The next tip is very similar, and that's asking her name. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you've probably heard this story before. One day, I was on the treadmill at the gym when a guy walked over as he was leaving. He smiled and said, "Hey, I hate interrupting your workout, but I can't leave this gym without knowing your name." Simple, polite, direct. I ended up giving him my number. I think when people get ready to approach someone, they build it up so much in their heads that they forget they can simply ask someone their name and start a normal conversation like any other person. You don't need some crazy pickup line or an elaborate routine. Sure, those things might work in certain situations, but they're definitely not necessary. Introducing yourself or asking someone their name is often more than enough. The last conversation starter is paying attention to small details. This is similar to making a situational comment, except instead of focusing on the environment, you're noticing something specific about her and using that to begin a conversation. Maybe you're at a coffee shop and she has a book on the table. You could say, "I've actually been thinking about reading that. How are you liking it so far?" Or maybe she's wearing a graphic t-shirt from a band you also listen to. You could ask, "What's your favorite album by them?" Or "Which song is your favorite?" Again, this depends on your interests and the situation you're in. We all have unique hobbies and interests, and when you connect with someone over a small shared interest right away, the conversation tends to flow much more naturally because you've already discovered something you have in common. Before we wrap up, I have one bonus tip that I think is incredibly important. If you're approaching someone you don't know or barely know, read the room. If she's giving short answers, seems distracted, or clearly isn't interested in talking, don't force the conversation. And whatever you do, don't react with frustration or take it personally if she isn't interested. Instead, be proud of yourself for stepping outside your comfort zone. Whether the interaction goes well or not, you're still building confidence and improving your social skills. Lately, I've been making an effort to talk to people more instead of keeping to myself, and I've noticed it's really helped me become more comfortable socially. As an introvert, that's something I've always had to work on. Also remember, you don't need to make this more complicated than it is. One of the biggest keys to approaching someone successfully is reading the situation, but it's also how you approach them. Confidence makes a huge difference. If you walk up looking extremely nervous, shy, or unsure of yourself, it might not create the best first impression. So be confident, take the chance, and go for it. I believe in you, because if you never give yourself the opportunity to try, you've already guaranteed the outcome. You might as well give yourself the chance to succeed. Alright guys, that's everything I have for today's video. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss future videos. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe there as well. I always enjoy connecting with all of you there. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.